This is a true story. It is also the most moving film of 2019. None of them. 1925. A terrifying virus called diphtheria. It broke out in a small town in Nome, Alaska. This virus only infects children. Very high case fatality rate. In just a few days, multiple children have already been infected and killed. But this serum vaccine is located 500 kilometers away in the city of Nylon. At present, Nome City is encountering another once-in-a-century storm, causing the aircraft to be suspended. Land-bound serum, if it cannot be delivered in time, the entire town's children will face extinction. They can only hope on the most traditional sled body, and the only ones who could possibly complete this task are old Sao and his leading dog, Togo. But old Sao didn't agree in person, because running back and forth for thousands of kilometers in a blizzard, he's not entirely sure. After returning home, old Sao always has a bad taste in his heart. He couldn't watch all the children in town die and sit idly by, so after a period of internal struggle, he made a painful decision. My wife didn't do too much obstruction, because she knows her husband's character too well. I can only hope that Togo can bring his husband back safely, or you can type 2. You go see the atmosphere. There won't be. The next morning, old Sao's sled team has set off. Along the way, the residents of the small town saw him off one after another. These eyes are filled with hope and hope, looking forward to the hero's triumphant return. Although old Sao knew it was a near-death mission, but for the entire town's children, he must give it a shot. Leaving the small town is a vast snowfield shrouded in thick fog. They struggled over a snowy mountain, but then comes the real test. On the downhill road, the dogs were pulling old Sao and running desperately. Complex road conditions and harsh environment make it impossible for him to see the road ahead clearly. You can only tell the dogs to slow down a bit. But at this moment, Togo suddenly brakes sharply, come to a stop, turning back to the frenzy of flying towards old Sao. Original. Togo found the abyss ahead. Old Sao also sensed the danger ahead. Release the hook immediately, attempting to slow down, but the speed is too fast, plus the steep mountain road. They can't stop at all. Lao Sao quickly jumped off the sled, want to use an ice pick to exert force, but the huge inertia directly overturned him to the ground. Fortunately, the sled team stopped by the cliff without any danger, but they could still fall into the abyss at any time. Old Sao shouted to Togo to turn around and run up. Here, the only thing he can trust and rely on is Togo. After Togo heard his master's call, immediately turn around and vigorously drag upwards. The other dogs who were caught by the traction rope finally turned around, pull the sled up together in the direction of Togo. Lao Sao's tense emotions were finally able to relax. After Togo came up, crazy licking on old Sao's cheek. It seems to be asking if the owner has been injured, but old Sao found out that Togo's paw was injured. Can only urgently rush to the first post station for bandaging treatment. The next day, they continue to depart. To save time, old Sao decided to take risks, go straight through the frozen strait, but due to the thin ice surface, cracks were instantly pressed out all around. The sound of ice cracking made the dogs make timid calls. Fortunately, Togo is still calm and composed, leading the team in an orderly and rapid rush. Old Sao also shouted out the names of each dog to encourage him. He believes in this team, believe more in Togo's leadership skills. Meanwhile, the sled team's heroic act of sacrificing their lives to collect serum was published in the newspaper by Norms. One time, the old competition has become the focus of the country. They are all worried about his condition in extreme environments and the dangers he faces. Lena also dispatched 14 sled teams at that time, relay the serum to the old race, the inevitable battle ahead. But they didn't expect it. Old Sao chose to cross the strait directly. This means that the relay team is likely to pass by old Sao. Once you miss the old race, it will take hundreds of extra kilometers. In such a harsh environment, the consequences will be unimaginable. The relay team is also rushing non-stop to the station. But on the way I encountered a herd of deer. The dogs chased after the mountain without obeying their commands, and under the relentless rush of days old Sao. My mind is a bit dazed. Just missed the relay team on the mountain. The relay personnel chased fiercely after seeing the old race, but under the cover of the buzzing sound, old Sao didn't hear the other party's call. Just as the relay crew was in despair, old Sao walked slowly through the snow and wind. Make Togo remind old Sao. Let them hug each other tightly after missing each other. Old Sao advanced to serum, but he couldn't be happy anymore, because this journey almost exhausted all the dogs, especially for 12 years old. For Togo, who is already in his twilight years, the road back is still extremely dangerous, full of challenges. Old Sao's eyes are filled with guilt and concern for his old friend. After a night's rest, they set out on their return journey. In order to send the serum back as soon as possible, old Sao still takes risks. Choose to cross the strait again, looking at the endless winds, snow, and ice in front of me. The dogs are all barking uncontrollably. They seem to know this is another life and death game. As the team deepens, large areas of cracking are beginning to occur again on the ice surface. Togo, as the leading dog, he knows his own responsibilities and the expectations of his master. There is also a longing for victory in the bones. With the shouts and encouragement of the host, he didn't care about the danger, leading the team to run fiercely. Halfway through, The ice surface ahead has been washed away by seawater, like a broken mirror. Even if you're not careful, you could be engulfed by cracks in the ice. In this desperate situation, Togo's judgment is particularly important. It can also be said that he controls the life and death of the entire team. Fortunately, Togo is sharp enough, brave enough, leading the team across cracks, escape from death time after time. Victory is just around the corner, but I didn't expect them to be trapped on a piece of floating ice. Old Say's brow furrowed tightly, staring intently at the shore. Until now, they're already feeling guilty, so Old Sayo made a quick decision: drill steel nails on the floating ice, and then pick up Togo, throw him across the bank with all your strength. If they still have a glimmer of hope, that hope can only lie with Togo. Togo understands using one's own small body to desperately pull the floating ice, but after all, he is already in his twilight years. I'm not as tired as I used to be with swordsmanship a few times before, and I feel like I'm shaking and collapsing. But he heard the owner's encouragement, barking with my friends. Come on, Togo, hold your breath. Make every effort. Finally, slowly pulling the floating ice closer to the shore, Old Sayo took the opportunity to untie the sled. The dogs rushed towards the shore vigorously. Old Sayo also runs with energy. Jump up and down, jump to the shore. They finally succeeded. After arriving at the station, Old Sayo only dares to rest for a few hours. Next, they will go to the next station 32 kilometers away. Out of protection for Togo, Old Sayo put him on the sled. Pull him away. But no matter how persuasive you are, Togo returned to their position as team leaders without hesitation, because this is his responsibility and mission. Meanwhile, Norms also sent a sled team to meet Old Sayo's side as they entered a forest. The weather has become extremely harsh. The wind and snow that covered the sky and the sun made it impossible to see clearly. Now he can only place his hope of returning again on Togo. One day, I'm just looking. The day after the blood accumulation month, it gradually darkened, and Old Sayo also fell into a coma. Togo is still struggling with his team. I don't know how long it took. Old Sayo gradually woke up from his coma. The dogs were all exhausted and lying motionless on the snow. Old Sayo stumbled towards Togo, sadly calling out his name. But this time, Togo did not give any response. Old Sayo's heart sank to the bottom in an instant, extremely heartbroken. Just then, a beam of light suddenly came from afar. Originally, Togo exhausted his strength, still fulfilled his mission: take the master safely to the post station. At this moment, Old Sayo is both pleased and heartbroken. He slowly walked into the station holding Togo in his arms. It seems to be telling him, finally, I can go home. Under the relay of the station, the serum was successfully sent back. The children in the town can finally be saved. The media conducted interviews with sledgers, and remember the name of the head dog. I also took a photo of the head dog, and treated them as the saviors of Gnome City. Extensive promotion, and after a few days of rest Old Sayo's side, also taking the children home. This time, he didn't get on the sled, but walking with his friends. After returning home, Old Sayo put the dying Togo on his own bed. This is also his first time letting a dog into the bedroom. Compared to 12 years of companionship and multiple attempts to save oneself from danger, this gift is nothing at all. Early the next morning, many people have arrived at home one after another, showing respect and gratitude to Lao Sayo and Togo one after another, although Old Sayo and Togo have been ignored by the media. But the people in the town know that it was Old Sayo and Togo who saved their child. At this time Old Sayo doesn't want any fame or fortune. He just hopes Togo can get better soon. Under the careful care of the elderly couple for many days, Togo has finally regained its former spirit. Old Sayo started going out to train his dog as usual. See you in Togo, quickly following the owner's side. Always obey orders. But Old Sayo loves Togo. Let him enjoy his old age at home. Togo looked disdainful and thought that he had not yet reached retirement time. But I still can't resist my master. Watching the owner gradually move away with other dogs, Togo's heart let out a mournful moan with reluctance. In protest, the indomitable spirit in one's bones make him unable to sit idly by. So disregarding the advice of the hostess, persisting in opening the door, escaped from prison again, chasing towards Old Sayo's back. The film Togo is adapted from real events. Togo is born with impure bloodline, childhood illness, in the situation where Old Sayo gave him away several times, but he can create extraordinary things with his strong will, prove oneself in 10 years, crossing the wind and snow with a 12-year-old dog physique, crossing an ice river, achieve a miracle, his resilient and fearless character, touching the heavens and earth, the courage to move forward without turning back, brave and spirited, his loyalty and beliefs far exceed human imagination, although the honor of that year was forcibly taken and plundered. But it cannot conceal his radiance either. This is the best friend of humanity. Togo.